learners. And in this process, I think this is an initiative of the Navodaya Vidyalaya Samiti. It is integrating, it is taking the initiative of integrating the academic learning with the sports. Slide. This is the vision actually, which is there. And this is the vision of Navodaya Vidyalaya Samiti, which has taken the initiative of implementation of the new sports NEP with the sports integrated pedagogy, and how the teaching of the core subject, academic subjects, can be taken. Now, this is the purpose of this orientation program. It is actually to deliberate upon the various aspects of the teaching, learning, and process, and the strategies to integrate sports and physical education with academic subjects in the light of the NEP 2020. The other purpose is to conduct the national training program workshop for teachers of the NVS for classes 6 to 8 for integration of sports and the other activities. In this, what we are going to do is we are going to verify the learning objectives or the concepts and the learning outcomes of the academic subjects as well as of the sports. So this will be a first strategy that we will be verifying the learning outcomes, the learning objectives, and the concepts. And this would be following this, then we would be planning that how the activities in the subject and the sports activities can be devised so that we have both the learning objectives of the academic subject as well as of the sports, that how they can be realized. So this is basically the process and the purpose of the orientation program, to really integrate the two areas and also to finalize upon the learning objectives, learning outcomes, and the activities for the same. The new education policy. Well, the new education policy has a different approach than we had in the previous education policies. And to just have a view of what basically the new education policy has in its store is that the education policy has some milestones in it. The first one is that there is a national mission which has focus on the basic literacy and basic numeracy to be achieved.
See, your work is not satisfactory. What no problem? No, I am going to write a letter to the construction agency.
Okay. So this is the focus. This is the national mission which has been taken up in the new education policy. There are other major reforms like the pedagogical structure, which we see over here,
yes,
which has been changed from the previous one of 10+2 to 5+3+3+4. The purpose is, of course, very straightforward, and it's very clear in its approach that there is not going to be any rigid separation of streams. Like you're going to have academic, in the academics you have science stream or the commerce stream or the other streams. So that is one thing which is going to be there. There are other things also which are very important.
Please tell me the names.
What kind of activities we are going to take up at the various stages of foundational level, the preparatory level, the middle level, and the secondary level, which will have two phases. That is, phase 1 will be from 9th and 10th, and the phase 2 will be 11th and 12th. The next slide, please. Now, if you see, the new education policy actually is based on various principles. And these principles, if we try to analyze, these can broadly be put into 3 different categories. One, which stresses on the child's uniqueness, the child's capabilities, that every child is unique in itself. And what it says is that it emphasizes on the development of the creative potential of every individual to its full richness and complexity. It emphasizes on the conceptual understanding and creativity and critical thinking. And for this, they have also, made possible of the flexible pathways. So, in a way, the principles of the new education policy are based on the every child being unique.
Yeah, sir, just 1 second. I mean, this workshop, this is information for all the participants. The participants who are not DCs, ACs, or principals and vice principals, but teachers, your workshop is on 22nd and 23rd. And I'm just unsharing it, sir, for a minute, just to get everyone this thing. So there are a lot of teachers who have joined here, and they are not on the original list. So request you to kindly drop off. I mean, this workshop is only for this participants. If your name is not here, apart from the ACs and DCs, it is only for the principals and vice principals. And for so these are the participants who should be there. The DC analyze the 7 names, ACs who are here, and let me just share the screen just to get. So this workshop is for the 7 DCs, the ACs for different reasons, and the subject coordinators who are actually principals and vice principals. If your name is not here, request the participants to kindly drop off, because we need to because the actual principals are actually waiting.
So this is the list of the participants and the teacher participants actually.
Yeah, teacher participants. These are because they are all principals and vice principals who have been appointed as.
Sorry, first learn this thing.
Register
sir. Gyanendra sir, you want to?
You have to register.
Yes, I want to intervene. Actually, this workshop is to be conducted in 2 phases. In first phase, the only assistant commissioner from regional office,
school principals
who is the regional coordinator, has to participate, and all deputy commissioners analyze, as well as the vice principal and principal, who are the subject coordinator from all ROs, that is 5 from each RO: science, mathematics, English, Hindi, social science. Likewise, we have shaped this workshop, but unfortunately, 1 or 2 reason has shared this link with other teachers also, so that these teachers are also joining. The teachers who have been nominated by the offices are to attend the training in the batch, that is batch 1 for Hyderabad, Pune, and Shillong and Chandigarh region from 22nd to 23rd July, and batch 2 for 27th and 28th July, Bhopal, Jaipur, Lucknow, and Patna. तो वो अध्यापक जिनको दूसरी स्टेज में लेना है, वो अगर इस स्टेज में जुड़ गए हैं तो वो अपने आप को विड्रॉ कर लें। अभी क्या हो रहा है कि कुछ प्रिंसिपल्स और वाइस प्रिंसिपल्स या एसीज जो इस प्रोग्राम के लिए नॉमिनेटेड थे, वो अंदर नहीं आ पा रहे हैं क्योंकि दूसरे टीचर्स यहाँ आ गए हैं, जिनको शायद इंफॉर्मेशन आरओ ने दी होगी, लेकिन वो अब मॉडिफाई करनी है, उनको अपने स्लॉट में जाना है, जिस दिन के लिए उनको ट्रेनिंग के लिए इनवाइट किया गया है। तो ऑल द टीचर्स आर रिक्वेस्टेड टू विथड्रॉ फ्रॉम दिस training program, please, so that the principal and vice principal, who are the subject coordinator, can enter in this workshop and will be trained for the purpose by which this workshop is being organized. So please, teachers are requested to withdraw themselves from this workshop, please. and remaining are requested to, again and again, we are requesting all the persons to keep mute, and that if any one person the mic is not on mute mode, then disturbance is created and the presenter is disturbed. अभी भी कुछ ना कुछ उन्होंने खोल रखा है. It is not the ethics of the attending the online workshop or online conference. Wherever you are asking to mute yourself, you have to mute, please. So teachers are requested to withdraw themselves immediately, please. Thank you. Panel ji, आपके पास list होगी. You just remove them who are not nominated for this training program.
Yes, sir. I will do that.
Thank you. Dr. Chauhan ji, please continue.
Thank you, sir. So what I was saying is that the principles on which the new education policy has been based on can broadly be classified into 3 different categories. First category being the child, on which a lot of emphasis has been laid about his uniqueness, and so as to develop the creative potential of the child or the individual. A lot of emphasis has been laid upon this, that how it is to be done. And that is why we are coming on to this kind of a workshop where integration is taking place. The emphasis again is not on rote learning, but on conceptual understanding, creativity, and the critical thinking. So how do we promote this? And then, of course, depending upon the interest, the talent of the child, the pathways have also been made flexible. Now, it is no more necessary that the child has to take up a particular subject because he's taking a particular stream. He could take subjects from different streams in the present scenario, what we have, like the science stream or the commerce stream or the humanities stream or some vocational stream. So this flexible pathways is another way of helping a child to take up the things, of his interest, of his choice, and he can progress the way he wants. Next aspect. Next slide. Now, this is a structure, which we had presented in various forums, including the Chintan Shivir, where this was laid, that instead of having one particular triangle with a vertex of excellence, we can have the broad base where the individuals can really, take part in all the activities at the initial stage. And that is what is being done in the new education policy also, where the participation in art, music, dance, robotics, and any field of interest of the child, which can make him active, which can make him fit, which can make him really joyful, with by which his childhood can really be relishing for him. So this is what the initial this thing is there. And gradually, when he moves up, the physical skills, the life skills, the cognitive skills, the social skills, and emotional skills should be taken up. And then, depending upon his interest, then the pathways will be there. So in the eventuality, when we have only one vertex of a triangle, we can have various vertices of the triangles, which will give us excellence from the children who are taking part in this education system in moving towards excellence in their own fields and space. So this is what is the basic thing, the essence of the new education policy, to get best out of the child. Now, the next one is that the curriculum. The next category of the principles, if we try to see, is the designing of the curriculum. Now, curriculum is a very important aspect in order to achieve the goals of any educational policy. And what has been stressed in the curriculum designing is that now it is early childhood care and education. The foundation of learning is being laid from as early as 3 years old of the child. So from 3 to 8 years, this is what is being taken care of. And because of this, the Anganwadis or the schools which are taking care of the early childhood care have to be oriented. And again, the teachers have to be oriented with this particular aspect. Then this, as I said, that the mission, a national mission has been taken up for achieving the foundation, literacy and numeracy by all students by grade 3. Otherwise, what we find is that children are, being upgraded in the higher classes, but the basic literacy and numeracy is, lacking somewhere. So this is another thing which has to be taken as a national mission. And then, of course, the multidisciplinary and the holistic education across science, social science, arts, humanities, and sports for a multidisciplinary world in order to ensure unity and integrity of all knowledge. Knowledge cannot be in isolation. You cannot say that you are good in mathematics, but you are weak in some other thing. You have to have a holistic approach, and therefore the stress has been laid on the multidisciplinary and the holistic education. And then, of course, in order to achieve this, there's no hard separation between various streams, between arts or science or commerce and science, between curricular and extracurricular activities, or between vocational and academic streams. This is to be eliminated. And I think this is where this education policy has got its special feature. Then the third aspect, if you could change the slide, Sujit. The third aspect is about the governance aspect. So the principles of the new education policy, the third aspect is the governance aspect, in which the aim is to draw policies, to make policies, to have an examination system in a manner that there is curtailment of dropping rates, ensuring the universal access to education at all levels, equitable and inclusive education. This is very important. And we also have the sustainable development goals framed by the United Nations, which also have to be achieved by 2030. So this new education policy also takes into consideration the goals of sustainable development. Efficient resourcing and effective governance through school complexes and clusters. So policy and regulatory acts have also been given a lot of emphasis to make them straight, to make them transparent, to see that everything which we have as resources is effectively used, and there is no hindrance as far as the rules and regulations are concerned. Then we have accreditation of the standards for school education. We have to have some level. Now that level doesn't mean that you have to score very high marks in order to achieve that, but that achievement will be depending upon that how the quality is actually is to be emphasized upon. Next. Now, learning and teaching should be holistic, integrated, enjoyable, and engaging. That is very important. Now, if you see that no child, would like to be, left behind, and it gives a very pathetic this thing that when in the class we declare the marks of various subjects, and some children are able to score very good marks, but there are some who are not able to score. So, if we want our children to be really, creative in their approach, be innovative in their approach, have critical, thinking in their way of making decisions. So any child would be, very effective as far as his approach towards being creative and innovative, provided that number one, it is his field of interest, which is very important. We must take into consideration that where the child is interested in actually, and then taking into consideration his strengths, what is the talent which is there in him, and therefore having these two things, we can always design a curriculum which would be suitable for the development of the child's potential of creative potential. Next slide, please. Sujit. Now, as I said, curriculum is a very important aspect. At present, what we are having, the scenario is this, that the curriculum which we have is basically subject-centered curriculum. What is this subject-centered curriculum? We all know that once the child, he enters the school, he has to learn certain subjects. So this is subject-centered curriculum. He has to learn mathematics, he has to learn social science, he has to learn science, he has to learn English or any language for that matter. So whatever, be the interest of the child, he is made to learn a subject. So instead that the child is made to compulsorily, he is made to learn mathematics, maybe he's not interested in it. He is made to learn science, maybe he's not interested in it. He may be, made to learn even social science. He's not interested in knowing the history or the different kingdoms, whatever were there that had happened, the history has happened. He may not be interested, but he is made to, study that. The another approach of curriculum designing is learner-centered, and I think this is where the present new education policy is trying to focus on. Learner-centered curriculum would mean a child who's interested in sports will have a curriculum of mathematics which would help him in moving forward in the field of sports. That is mathematics. He would be interested to learn mathematics provided he knows that this much mathematics is required, or this aspect of mathematics is required for my moving up in the field of my interest. Or for that matter, science. If he wants to learn science, then again, he has to have a curriculum which is so designed that it is going to help him in the field of sports as well. And then again, social science also. We could say that how can we have a curriculum which would support a child in sports or maybe any other field of interest for that matter? Well, it does have. History doesn't only mean the history of kingdoms. History also could mean the history of sports in the various eras. History could also mean that how sports had an impact on the history, or how history had an impact on the sports, how football came into existence, and so on and so forth. The third aspect, or the third mode of curriculum designing is phenomena-based or the problem-centered. In this curriculum designing, the problems are posed before the students. They have to, do problem solving, and in order to solve those problems, he has to learn various aspects of the academics. So this is a phenomena which has been adopted by Finland and many other countries which have got advanced stages of school education. So why I have stressed upon this is because it is important for us to see to it that where the child is interested in and how the subjects can be made interesting for him so that his interest is also maintained and he is able to do that creative, innovative, and explorative work in the field of his interest. Next. Well, this is normally said that when the child goes to the school, he goes to the classroom because his main attention is that whether he has done the homework in the different subjects, what is going to be his state of, the condition of his not being able to do certain work which has been assigned to him. So it is not basically that the child goes to school, to a classroom to learn something, but the modus operandi has to change. The children go to school means that education is not only limited to classrooms, but it is also education outside the classroom. That is, the entire school premises becomes his field of learning. And that is very important. Well, there is a very strong relationship between education and exercise, or for that matter, any physical activity. The more educated a person, the more likely that he's to get enough exercise to stay healthy. And more active a student is, more attentive and mentally agile is he in his academic subjects as well. So if you find this diagram gives you that how the different activities, a comprehensive physical school activity program can be made possible for this. So you have, physical activities before and after school. You have families and community engagements where you can have physical activities involved. Staff, we talk about the children to be given a new approach of education. Well, the media of giving those imparting education is definitely the teacher. No education policy can ever be successful without the involvement of the staff. And if we can have our staff also in active mode, definitely what the child sees, he adopts that. So you can have so many things, by which we can make a sound relationship between the education and the physical fitness programs. Next. I would like you to observe this particular clip from Hitchkey, where the interest of the child has been taken into consideration, and the importance of sports and its integration with the subject has been very nicely given. Could you play this, please?
I'm just trying to play it, sir.
If it is possible.
I don't know why it is not playing, sir.
Chalo, let's go forward, then when it comes and we can.
Okay, we'll play it later, sir.
We can play it later. There's no problem. Playful learning. See, right from the beginning, this is how the learning can be very playful for the child. See, initially we have child-led, where it is a free play. The child moves his hands, takes his playing material, maybe ball or whatever it is, and it is the child who is automatically interested in the free this thing. But gradually, when the child grows, then there is a guided play which comes. The adult, the mother, the father, or maybe the elders in the family, guide him to play certain games which he starts enjoying, and then this guided play then later turns into games as he grows up, where there will be some rules, some constraints for the play. You cannot just hit the ball wherever you want, but there has to be a purpose for playing the game or hitting the ball. And this is another way of engaging. This is the stages, various stages where the continuum of playful learning takes place. And then finally, he enters into a stage where there are direct instructions. The adult designated and controlled set of constraints for activity are there. So this is how the activities, the physical activities or the playing approach of the child right from the beginning until he really enters into the direct instruction mode. That is how the learning of playful this thing takes place. Then there are principles of teaching or play. First is to associate play with learning or the educational objectives. If every play has got certain learning outcomes, and therefore you can have games with certain educational objectives as well, what it teaches you, and that can be associated with the educational objectives of the various subjects. Play with guided discovery. Now, every time it's not that the child has to play this thing, but there can be an element of discovery also in the game. So he discovers, he explores certain aspects, and this is how play can be very meaningful as far as this aspect of the education is concerned. And of course, then experiential learning, you have choice, you wander, and then you have a delight. So that experiential learning also comes through this. And then, of course, cultivate the culture of play through intrinsic motivation. And then, of course, you have to navigate various constraints, which could be space, it could be time, it could be equipment, it could be the people. So having these constraints, how the play can be designed and how he can play and achieve the objectives for which he's playing. So these are the 4 stages. He's not yet started playing the game, but he's getting there to see how the game is being played. And then he gets into the game and he says, yes, I've got this thing now that he can play. And then once he plays the game, then he achieves a certain level of satisfaction and he says, wow, how wonderful it is to really play. So this is, I think, very important. Now, we always, think about that how we can achieve, the fitness level of the children, or provide so much of space for the children to really take part actively in the physical activities or the play. And there are also directions that we must ensure that there are 60 minutes of play. So how do we go across this? If you just say this, sports or the physical activity, you have very few games periods in a week for a class. So how do we integrate this? Now, if we are able to identify certain areas in each subject which can really be played or which can really be taught through activities, the physical activities or the sports. So you have, intersection of these subjects with the sports. And this is how you can design your timetable in a manner that the child is able to get minimum of 60 minutes every day to be involved in the physical activity and sports. So it's not necessarily that only in the games period the child has to go out. It could be in the science period also, where he can perform various physical activities. Say it's pulse rate, how the pulse rate can be measured before and after the exercise. So the field activities is one, where it can be done. It could be mathematics. Will be Mr. Sujit will be giving you live examples of how the integration can be done. Even with subjects like Hindi and English and social science, it is very much possible. So this is the possibility of integration of subjects with the physical activities, and also at the same time, the dream of making at least 60 minutes of activity, physical activity, available for every child in the school is possible. Yeah, the next slide, Suji. Yes, this is what we actually intend. Active Navodaya Vidyalayas. How? We have first is the physical education periods, which are there in the timetable. Then we have subject periods, as we said, we can integrate them. So you have provision of subject periods also having them in the field. You have active spaces in the school itself. The different corners, different corridors can have certain equipments which can be motivation for the children to be actively to be active or have an active lifestyle. And then you have active assembly, of course, that we know that Navodaya Vidyalayas also have morning assemblies where you have mass PT or various yogic exercises and other things. So you have an active assembly over there. And then sports-based building activity, team building activities can be there. And the substitution periods, in case there is some certain substitution period, it can also be converted into some gainful, meaningful physical activity period. So this is how we can have active Navodaya Vidyalayas. Next. Well, now this is what we have this program actually, that we have an orientation program for the regional coordinators and the subject coordinators who have a very significant and important role to play in getting the teachers acquainted with the different teachers and how they have to go about it. So we have a lot of things in the orientation program. Basically, we have to have the specific roles of the regional coordinators, the subject coordinators, and of course, then we need to have the distribution of the work to be given to the teachers. What we have designed is that every teacher would be given at least two topics, one of his own choice, which he wants to develop, and the second is the allocation, which is officially done through the subject coordinators, so that we are able to get both we are able to cover up the entire syllabus also, and we are also able to do the best out of the teacher where he feels that he can give the best. So this is basically what we are going to do. And we are going to have the physical education teachers also associated with the subject teachers. Now, this is something very good and very unique. Now, when we expect the child has to be innovative, explorative, and discovering things, well, we also have to have a different approach of teaching also. You cannot expect the mathematics teacher alone to be able to fulfill the aspirations of students. So there has to be a team teaching. There has to be a teamwork, and that's how we can move forward. Next. So we have two batches again here. One is on 22nd and 23rd, and the second is on 27th and 28th. This is basically the program which is already, I think available, and this is what we are going to have. Next. So lesson plans, sample lesson plans would be given, then the teachers would be preparing that. And I think the space between 10th and 22nd would be effectively used to get teachers acquainted and the coordinators also acquainted with the strategies and the methodology of preparing the lesson plans and uploading them in the portal. Next. This is the day 1 program and this is the day 2 program. So a lot of space has been given. We have subject experts from different fields who will be extending their help to the teachers and the subject coordinators. Next. Now, what are the desired outcomes from this workshop? One is the continuous professional development. This is one aspect of teachers training, which is there in National New Education Policy also, where every teacher and every educational administrator, for that matter, at the school level, has to undergo 50 hours of CPD program. So this type of a program is really going to be helpful not only to the administrators but also to the teachers, so that they get acquainted with the latest technology, the latest developments in the field of education, and how they will be able to improve their performance as far as bringing the child to his best potential is concerned. And then, of course, this is also going to help you in how to think creatively. And this would be really be exemplified when we talk about social sciences, or say Hindi or English, how they can be integrated with the sports or the field of interest of the child. And then learning how to teach creativity will be another thing. And then extending teaching beyond the conventional classroom. So these are the desired outcomes from the workshop. Apart from what we have decided about, integrating the sports with the subjects and creating at least those aspects of the lesson plan where the activities are to be created. Next. So these are the key outcomes. Subject teachers to get the knowledge, skills, and confidence to create sports-oriented activities for their subjects. This is what I was saying about integration of or the team teaching. And the physical education teachers, on the other hand, will have a broad exposure to the different subjects and be able to relate the physical education and sports activities with the curricular linkage. So this is going to be an integrated approach from both the aspects, from the teachers as well as from the physical education teachers, and they are going to complement each other. It's not going to be like that who is superior or who is inferior. It is going to be that how we can join hands to make our students superior in their learning. Next. This is the team from CT. We will be assisting in the conduct of this workshop. And these are the subject experts we have from various fields. Some are retired principals, some are working, and their contribution is going to be immense because they will be directly interacting with the teachers and the subject coordinators to be able to produce the desired results. Now, these are the things which will be delivered. Subject teachers and PE teachers to get a copy of the activities which all the NVS teachers have collectively created during the 2 full-day intensive hands-on workshop. All teachers who achieve 70% marks for performance during the workshop, they will be given a certificate of merit. CT will provide a copy of all the content created during the workshop to the NVS headquarters for internal use of NVS. And the content of the workshop or the web link of the platforms is not to be shared by any participant with any outside agency or the user except for NVS. Now, what is the role of the training center heads and the regional coordinators? Because basically these are the leaders, in the field who are really going to inspire and motivate the teachers to really come with the flying results. As has already been done, there will be identification of subject coordinators, 1 for each subject of the region, and subject teachers teaching classes 6 to 8, 10 from each subjects. Of course, we have added physical education teachers also in this. They have to coordinate with the other regional coordinators regarding distribution of work Now, this is very important aspect, that how the work would be distributed so that everyone knows, every teacher knows that what is he to do during the 2 days where he is going to be with us. So there will be region-wise, class-wise, subject-wise, topic-wise, and concept-wise distribution. And that planning has to be done today and tomorrow. And then we have to make an assessment of the progress of the work which has been allocated to the region and submission of the final work. I think this is a great opportunity where we can really authenticate or put a stamp on the learning objectives, the concepts in every topic, and the learning outcomes which have been framed by the NCERT, and we can send them the recommendations also as will be decided by this particular in this particular workshop. Next. Subject coordinators. Again, the subject coordinators have a very significant and important role, because as we go down the hierarchy, the role becomes more and more important and specific. Here, all the subject coordinators from the different regions of a subject will be coordinating with each other regarding the distribution of work, like how we have to distribute, whether the regions are to be given specific classes, and then the subjects also will be decided according to that, or we decide on the number of chapters in a particular subject and then distribute it equally amongst the things. So this will be discussed and decided. Then distribution of the work to the subject teachers within the region. Once the region has been allocated a particular class or the subjects or the number of chapters, then how that distribution is to be done amongst the teachers. So each teacher will have to be given the assignment of preparing a lesson plan, as will be discussed in the second session. And then, of course, you will have to take the assessment of the progress of the work and identify the topics also which require special attention. There may be certain areas where the teachers may be finding it difficult to integrate the things. But yes, there is another aspect that the sports has got certain values attached to it. So if not a direct game, whether the values can be achieved. So this, I think, will be taken up by Sujit in the next session. And then, of course, the timeline for completion and submission of the work has to be fixed so that we are able to complete the work within time and submit the final report to the Honorable Commissioner. Certificate of merit, of course, this is what has been designed, that all teachers who achieve 70% marks of the performance, and here the 30% marks have been allocated for application of knowledge, 25% marks for the relevance of the activities with the subject and the sports learning outcomes, 25 marks for the quality of activities, and 20 marks for creativity. Thank you so much. I think I have delivered whatever I wanted to, and now next to Sujit for taking over methodology and implementation.
Sujit, you have not unmuted yourself.
Okay. Oh, sorry, sir. Thank you so much, Chavan sir. Thank you so much, Gyanendra sir. So I'm going to continue from where Chavan sir has left. So here, what we are looking at is the methodology for implementation. This is the first principle that we follow as an organization. So, and this is a takeaway from what Commissioner sir also talked about. Fitness and joyful learning are very essential. are essential for both emotional, intellectual, social, spiritual, and physical health. And this is something which needs to be part of everyone, whether because fitness is from home to home. Basically, it means that from the day you are born till the day you die, fitness is something that everyone needs. So essentially, so as teachers, as principals, as DCs or students, everyone needs all of this. The other thing that is being said is that positive habits are actually formed in school. So basically, when you're looking at physical activity, if we integrate physical activity in our subjects, so what basically happens is that you are expanding the time. CBSE is saying that every child should have 60 minutes of physical activity. WHO says that, Fit India says that. But how do we ensure 60 minutes of physical activity? Similarly, for adults, when we are teachers or assistant commissioners, or principals, vice principals, we also need to get 150 minutes of physical activity. So when we integrate subjects with sports, so what basically essentially happens is that everyone gets to get some sort of physical activity also, a little bit more. So some people have actually request all the participants to keep it in mute because I'm now presenting it, so I cannot control. So thank you so much. So when we integrate sports with subjects, one of the major outcomes is that everyone gets fitter, whether I'm a student or a teacher or a school administrator or a leader. So I actually get fitter. What are the key objectives of any good school program, of active school program? See, the idea is that we should bring back childhood among students. So currently during COVID-19, we see that a lot of children are not getting physical activity. Second, the activities should be structured as PE and sports curriculum. Third is physical activity needs to be part of subjects, joyful learning of subjects. So can I teach value of pi? Can I show the principle of shadow? Can I talk about buoyancy, viscosity when I'm actually outside of a classroom? So I can actually, that is a thing. And when we do all that, every child gets 60 minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity because he's not only doing PE program, he's also getting a flavor of physical activity in different subjects. What are the different learning outcomes of physical education? First and the foremost learning outcome is that every child needs to participate. Every child needs to participate in physical activity through modified games, sports, and any sort of physical activity. Physical literacy is also very important because it is not only about doing physical activity, but it's also about learning. Like Chauhan sir talked about, learning outcome for anything that we do. So physical literacy is a very important thing. Knowing about your body, knowing about your skills, knowing about your so basically developing your social skills, your behavioral skills, your cognitive skills, all of that. So all of that needs to be developed, and hence physical literacy is a very important aspect. Fitness for everyone, social skills, and joyful learning are the key outcomes. So you don't need to play sports, you don't need to excel in sports, but you just need to enjoy, make it as part of your daily lifestyle. Second aspect is that second aspect is, especially since we're talking about 6 to 8 class 6 to 8, in this bracket, that's a middle school, they need to be exposed to a variety of sports before specializing in any sports. So that is very important, where every child needs to play a variety of sports. We'll look at that also. Third thing is that as part of the physical education learning outcome is that sports excellence pathway. So some children need to will do well in sports, and so we need to have sufficient modification so that they get additional time. What are the key aspects of fitness? When we're integrating subject with sports, what are the things that we can integrate? It could be about physical well-being, it could be about mental well-being, it could be about active lifestyle, healthy living. Nutrition is also an aspect of health and physical education. Eating habits, preventive healthcare, environment-friendly living. We're talking about Seva, socially empowered, social empowerment through work and action. So we need to live in harmony with everyone else. So teamwork, collaboration, a lot of values of sports, respect, learning how to deal with winning and losing. So all of that are all part of environment-friendly living. I mean, how do you live in harmony with the environment? So sports and fitness actually teaches you all this. So when you're looking at sports, we need to look at all this. Devendra sir, please mute. The next aspect is when we are looking at sports actually teaches you a lot of things. So now we have Tokyo 2020. So between two Olympics is a period which is called, so that's part of, so Olympism is basically about values of Olympics, values of Paralympics. Olympics actually teaches you three main values: excellence, respect, and friendship. Excellence means that you have to do your best that you can. That's important in anything that you do, whether you are doing it in sports, mathematics, science, English, whatever subject you're doing. It's about striving for excellence. So you are actually encouraging effort. As teachers, we need to celebrate effort of students. Second is about teaching about respect for yourself, respect for own body, respect for other people's, respect for rules, respect for sports and the environment. So respect is a very important aspect of sport. And when we are actually doing any sort of, whether we are looking at English, Hindi, social science, in all three of them, there's a lot of content which is around respect. Third thing is about friendship. Friendship is at the heart of Olympic movement. Basically, it's about Suresh sir, please kindly mute. Friendship is about encouraging. So it's about mutual understanding of individuals. So that's a third aspect: excellence, respect, and friendship. So it's basically about children who play sports, enjoy educational health benefits, is what the IOC president had talked about. Yeah. So the next aspect is Paralympic values. That's the second aspect. So Paralympic values is basically about four core values. Karamchand sir, kindly mute. Karamchand sir, kindly mute. So determination, inspiration, courage, and equality are the four key pillars of Olympic value education, and this is what is very important. All Paralympics actually teaches you that every child is unique. So every child, it's not about, so they are called differently abled athletes. It basically means that they have a different ability. So my upper body may be working, but the lower body may not be working, or it could be that one limb is not working, but everything else is working. So it is about respecting that. It's about respecting the abilities of children. So it's about having, no one is perfect, but whatever you have, can you actually have the best potential? So determination, inspiration, courage, and equality. Equality is a very important virtue of sports, and this is what we can actually teach on the ground. So let's play a little video. This video is about 5 minutes or this is what a child actually thinks when he's actually playing sports. So let's look at it. Just
what is your video?
Yeah.
Sukhi, mummy, 5 minutes, please.
पसीना मिट्टी मिट्टी हम तो सब कुछ झेलेंगे बस 5 मिनट और ओके बस 5 मिनट और जो ठाना है उसे पाना है चलो चलो खुद को बनाना है धूल पसीना मिट्टी मिट्टी हम तो सब कुछ झेलेंगे बस
आइए इन्हें खेलने देते हैं ये आज और खेलेंगे कल और जीतेंगे खेलो इंडिया यूथ गेम्स जहां इंडिया के हजारों युवा एथलीट्स खेलेंगे टू बी द बेस्ट
मिट्टी मिट्टी हम तो सब कुछ झेलेंगे बस 5 मिनट और बस 5 मिनट और बस 5 मिनट और बस 5 मिनट
आओ खेले भी खेलो इंडिया
साथ में है हम
दिल्ली रिपोर्टर भी क्या ये 2-4 दिन इंप्रूव हो रहा है
kindly mute. Kindly mute.
मैं बता देता हूँ हाँ वो है ये तो वहीं बैठ के बदलेगा उसको बोलो
Sombir sir, kindly mute. Yeah. So when we are looking at, so every child
हर काम के लिए देते जाओ और बस स्कूल का काम होना नहीं
Sombir Punia sir, kindly mute. Sombir Punia sir, kindly mute. Yeah. So when we are looking at, so every child actually wants to play 5 minutes extra. So that's the nature of every human being. So even in the classroom, between two classes, also before the teacher actually comes, the child wants to play additional 5 minutes. So, so what is it? So what is it so when you're looking at play, the play should be meaningful. That's very important. Any activity that we design, they should be joyful, engaging, must be interactive, and it should always have certain learning outcome. That's very important. So what we need to do is to make sure that every child actually gets involved in any activity. It need not be only sports, but activity-based sport is very important. So when we are looking at learning outcomes, I've just picked up the learning outcome which is there. So we are looking at the middle years, that's from class 6 to 8. Here the child wants to, will play a variety of sports. So basically he will play sports from individual sports, that's athletics, gymnastics, swimming, or any sort of individual sports, or it could be about team sports. And they also get to play sports from different categories. So basically there could be combat sports, it could be about racket-based sports, it could be about reading. It's like a kabaddi or this thing where you actually get into the other side of the field, or a football or a hockey. So that is a kind of sport. So let's look at what are the kind of sports that the child is actually playing at that point of time. And second thing is that when we are doing sports is very colorful if you actually add simple equipment. And with this equipment, you can actually teach a lot of things when you are teaching, let's say, any subject. And it's actually very colorful. What are the different age-appropriate curriculum which is there from class 6 to 8? So let's look at the progression of a PE class. So when you are designing any subject integration with sports, we need to know what should be there. So at home, basically 0 to 2 years is when the child actually learns how to do sitting, crawling, and walking. That's a basic thing the child learns. When the child is growing from 2 to 7 years up to class 3, when they start learning about locomotor skills. The locomotor skills are basically about running, jumping, hopping, skipping, things which you do not need any equipment. Manipulative skills are when you need some equipment like a bat or a ball. So you either you hit at or you could be striking. So you need a bat and a ball. So it's like whether you are doing cricket, basketball. Yeah. So you learn skills like dribbling, you learn skills like catching, throwing, striking. Stability skills are basically about balance and balance. So you can you stand on one leg? Can you jump? Can you land properly? In the next stage, that's for up to class 5th, is when they're actually transitioning these skills into something else. So when I'm running, when I'm jumping, I'm learning to do broad jump, I'm learning to do long jump. I'm basically doing some basic things when I'm actually getting into this thing. I'm also starting to learn skills of athletics and swimming, gymnastics, team and individual sports. I'm also learning to do yoga. Then I get into 11 to 14. That's the age that we're looking right now. That's a middle year. That's a more important one. So here, what are the kind of activities that the child is doing? The child is doing basic any sports that is played in Olympics. That's a very simple way to look at it. Any sports that is played in Olympics is a sport that is played in school, some of them. Second is Indian traditional games like Kho-Kho, Kabaddi, Pittu. All those things are 7 stones. Hopscotch, I mean things which are very traditional games. India, I mean things which originated in India. The third aspect is recreational game. Recreational games are basically fun games. They don't have any rule, like what Sir was talking about, joyful learning. There are some games where you can make your own rules. So as subject teachers, we can actually create a lot of games which we can create our own rules. So that's the third aspect. Then we are actually developing all the fitness components. So we have the Khelo India fitness assessment test. So a child needs to improve his speed, his strength. So he'll do push-ups, pull-ups, he will do squats, he will do one leg standing, he'll do a 400 meter, 100 meter. Surinder Kumar Bhatt sir, kindly mute. Cardiovascular endurance, that is basically you're doing 400 meter races. Flexibility, you are actually stretching your body. Coordination is like catching, throwing, all of that. So these are some of the things that the child is actually doing. He's learning yoga, he's doing mass PT, aerobics, health and nutrition is an aspect, outdoor education, basically orienteering. So you can do treasure hunts. You can actually have children to pick up leaves from the school, this thing. So anything that I actually do as part of outdoor education, or I take them out. Anuradha ma'am, kindly mute. We and the environment. We and the environment is basically about the environment, and then the value education is also very important aspect. Anuradha ma'am, kindly mute your microphone. Thank you. Value education, sports is basically about value education. So you are teaching a lot of values like we talked about. So these are the things which are the building blocks of 11 to 14, class 6 to 8. 14 to 18 is when the child actually starts specializing in sports. Okay, this is the construct of the physical education curriculum for physical education. And you can see that a lot of things are actually linked with the subjects that you are already, the teachers already teaching. Like knowing your body. Can it be linked with physics? Can it be linked with science, chemistry, biology? Bones are important. Again, postures. How to remain physically fit. Games and sports, leaders and followers. You have a lot of yoga, nutrition. Nutrition again has linkages everywhere. Safety outside your school, gender sensitivity. Then when you are looking at class 7th, you have fundamental skills like for different sports, different team sports, calisthenics, rhythmic activities, common injuries, scholarships, recreational outdoor activities. So you can see there's a lot of things which can be linked with the subjects that many of you are actually teaching. And here you can see variety of sports where you are looking at athletics, gymnastics, swimming, individual sports, team sports. Let's look at some of them. Here in class 6 to 8 is the child is actually learning all this. He's learning sports. So he's learning track and field events. So basically when you're talking about athletics, either they're track events or field events. So you have running events. So you have 100, 200, 400 meter, you have relay races, you have long distance runs also. So can I teach physics? Can I teach anything that has intake of oxygen? Can I teach something which has intake of, talks about sweating, rise in temperature, kinetic potential energy? Can I have relay races where it is about teamwork? So there are a lot of things which is basically can be on this thing. So then you have the throws, discus throw, javelin throw. And actually discus and javelin throw is all about physics. It's all about mathematics, actually, if you really look at it. It's about how far can you throw when you are actually doing that. Jumps, whether it is long jump, high jump, triple jump. Again, a lot of science actually involved there. So it is about when I'm doing a pole vault, can I actually talk about shifting up energy. So basically conservation of energy from potential energy to kinetic energy to potential kinetic energy and back to when I'm falling down. Actually, it's so can I teach all that? When I'm doing walking is a lot of things. It's about shifting of mass, as an example. I'm just talking about. So you can actually see that it's all about lot of mathematics, lot of physics. There's a lot of chemistry, biology, anything to do with. So these are straight away linkages with mathematics and science. It's about linkages with teamwork when I'm doing baton exchange and all that. Second, I'm looking at, let's say, gymnastics, swimming. Swimming is an excellent example where you are talking about when you are talking about buoyancy. So center of buoyancy and the center of mass are at two different points of the body. Can I actually use swimming as an example to teach that? Gymnastics is all about balance. It's about constant shifting of center of mass of a body. Wrestling again, I mean, it's about push, pull, lot of things. So I'm actually learning a lot of things when I'm actually, so I need to actually have at least one activity should be done in the school. What is it that I'm learning? I'm learning skills. First thing is skills. And the skills are important. If you actually start thinking about it, you can actually apply anything to it. Measurement of the ground. So actually every single playground has a different dimension. It has rectangles, it has squares, it has circles. They have different sports equipments have different, they have volume, they have, so they also have density, just about the weight, just about anything that you have to look at. The rules of the game. Jyoti ma'am, kindly mute. Jyoti Dangorkar ma'am, Jyoti Dangorkar ma'am, kindly mute. Jyoti Dangorkar ma'am, kindly mute. So then there is rules of the game and the behavior on the ground. These are some of the things that we are actually teaching on this thing. So you see, when you are actually doing a lot of individual sports, you can see that at the end, actually what happens is, Jyoti ma'am, kindly mute. Yeah. Yeah. So the behavior on the ground, you see that whenever a sports actually ends, any game that you play, people actually, even the opponent, the losing player actually shakes hand with the winning player, and they both shake hand with the referee. So there's a lot of respect, and there's a lot of behavioral things which you can actually teach through sports, and a lot of English and Hindi are all about values. Then there are sports, team sports, which are there, where we are teaching the skills of various sports, whether it is football, hockey, cricket, basketball, all of that, where you actually teaching skills. Then you're also channelizing the energy and the quality of team spirit. Again, all of this, basketball, volley, badminton, I'm showing you a variety of things which are there. Kabaddi, Kho-Kho, these are some of the things which are actually taught in class 6 to 8. So when you are looking at integrated approach to teaching, we will now shift into the integrated approach. So what we need to do, that all teachers should get a perspective of learning outcomes for different subjects and physical education. So between today and tomorrow, we'll see it also. And subject teachers should get the knowledge, skills, and confidence to create sports-oriented content. And PE teachers should have broad exposure to a variety of subjects. So let's look at integration of sports with social science. I'm taking up two topics which seem to be very difficult, but let's look at two examples. I'm just taking a couple of examples. The first example is class 6 social science, the Earth in the solar system. So here, when you're looking at class 6 social science, what is there? So there we are actually learning about the different planets. We are learning about the soul. We are learning about the sun, and we are also learning about the order of the planet. We are learning about their distances from each other. We are learning about how many moons that they have, and do they also have, and some are Jovian planets, some are terrestrial planets. So basically about Mercury to Mars are all heavier planets, and you have the terrestrial planets which are basically lighter, gaseous, and less density planets. And they also have moons around them, many of them. Some of them, like Earth, has only one moon, but and other planets have more moons. So here, what is a game that we are playing out here? If I have to turn this into an activity, I take children to the ground and I do the game, a simple game of the dog and the bone. In dog and the bone, the sun is actually closer to the Mercury. So as a teacher, I can actually call out students in different ways. I can call them by name. I can call them by position. I can call them by the number of moons. I can call them by the distances. So that way, what happens is that actually the children get to play. Dog and the bone जो game है, वो center में वो है एक. So I have a PK Rahul sir kindly. PK Rahul sir kindly mute. Okay. Yeah. So here, when I'm actually doing it, so I have a hula hoop on one side, and inside the hula hoop I have a bean bag. So the teacher is standing closer to the sun. He is actually calling out. And these are the students. So basically, I have a team of eight here, and then there are more students actually as moons behind the planets. They're all standing there. So you can actually get the entire class divided. So I can actually call out by moon name, I can call out by planet name, I can call out by the position they're in. So let's say I call 4, then Mars will come. I can actually call them by density also. Request everyone to please mute your microphones, please. Just a request. Excuse me. Shivaji sir, kindly, do you want to? Sunita ma'am, kindly. We are going to have an interactive session, sir. So in the next session, all of you are going to participate, and everyone is going to talk. So that's what we're going to do from 1:30 onwards. So I know that some of you have raised hands, but you can raise your hand, but don't. Can you, whosoever has done it, kindly remove this one, kindly. Annotation, yeah, please, thank you. We will do it in the next session, sir and ma'am, please, thank you, where all of you are going to participate. So here, through a simple game of dog and the bone, we are actually teaching the solar system, and children will remember because it's interesting. They are on the ground, they'll remember the name, size, all of that. Second is a social science thing about a rebel of 1857. This is a class 8th chapter, when people rebel, 1857. And we have picked up the concept called through the eyes of the people. A mutiny becomes a popular revolution. So here, what we are doing, we are actually playing a game of kabaddi. So here, what is it that we are doing? So we are saying that we are dividing the class into groups of 14 children on both sides. 14 children, 7 each, to play a game of kabaddi. So one team is representing the East India Company, the other team is representing the team Glory. So Mangal Pandey and the Sepoys. So here the East India Company is led by the Governor General, and Team Glory is led by Mangal Pandey and the erstwhile princely states. So the Team Glory team may have members like Mangal Pandey, Bahadur Sajad Jafar, Nana Saheb, Tatia Tope, Begum Jeenat Mahal, Rani Lakshmi Bai, Kunwar Singh Thakur, and the Jamindars. So these are my team members on the Kabaddi side. On the other side, children can actually find out who were some of the British names. They can be on the other side. Now, what happens is that because here in this chapter, it's basically about Britishers setting their own rule. So in round 1, we are going to have round 1. Team A is East India Company. So the team A actually is setting the rules. The team, let's say, is setting a rule saying that the Team Glory cannot add a team back. So this is a policy of lapse that we're talking about, that if a king didn't have a natural son, the kingdom is annexed to the British. The second rule could be that East India Company can add members back one by one, even if they're out. The team East India Company can have their own referee. So it's like their British Parliament was their own referee. And in case of foul, it can be referred to the external referee, that's a British Parliament. And they can change the rule anytime. So that's what the East India Company can do. Whereas for Team Glory, they cannot have any chain to defend. They cannot make any chain. They have to do it all alone. They cannot form groups. They are not allowed to help another player during defending, and they cannot set any rule. That is a team. That is Team Glory. So here in round 1, Team A plays as East India Company and Team B plays as Round Glory. In round 2, it can be the other round. So at the end of the round, the teacher can actually ask both the teams that why did Team Glory lose? Then the teacher can actually correlate that with the rebellion of 1857. So here it's about fair play, it's about equal rules. So at a later date, you can actually have fair play and you can have equal rules for both teams and they can play around. And that is after independence. So here you can basically have different variations. You can have different rules that children will start thinking creatively. So here the concept of Rebel of 1857 and the game of Kabaddi are actually linked. They are playing a game of Kabaddi, but they are actually remembering all the names of princely states, they are remembering the members, and they actually know. So it can be around princely states, or it could be around known names. So this is an example where a topic like Rebel of 1857 can actually be taught through sports. Let's take another example. This example is about sports and languages. Someone's phone is ringing. Okay. Okay. The second thing is about integration of sports and languages. Here so there are 4 key skills here we are looking at: listening skills, reading skills, writing skills, and comprehension skills.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So let's take an example. Class 6 Hindi, Tati Haath Badhana. So what is here, what is it that we do?
I am on the online, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Can I request once again for everyone to please mute? Okay. So here, class 6th Hindi. So this is a Saathi Haath Badhana. So here, what we are doing is that we have a team of 2, just 2 chains. So one team is 15, the other team is 15, and they are on 2 different. They make 2 lines. And behind Ashok Kumar, sir.
Yes, sir.
Kindly mute, sir. The first student of so basically you have a cone, you have a hula hoop at the center, and you have a bean bag. So the 2 children are actually standing at some point, and they have to one person comes, picks up a bean bag, goes back, takes another student with them, comes back and puts a bean from the center to the end, and that is how they keep making a chain. So at the end, so it's a good strategy game where you are playing chain जो हम बचपन में खेलते थे, and इसमें basically बच्चों को ये सीखने के मिलेगा कि वो टीम वर्क कैसे कर सकते हैं, स्ट्रैटेजी कैसे बना सकते हैं, और साथ में वो जो सब्जेक्ट का जो लर्निंग आउटकम है वो भी वो कर सकते हैं. And the team which actually, so at the end, when all the bean bags are exhausted, so दोनों टीम काउंट करेंगे वो कितने बीन बैग्स उन्होंने इकट्ठा किया था सेंटर से, and that is how they win. Then let's take this example of the squirrel. It's a concept of story explained by playing game of 7 stones. So here children are divided into 2 teams. So basically one being the squirrel, the other being the children. So stones are the nuts with the squirrels need to collect. And the other team tries to strike the squirrel with the ball. Anyone hit by the ball is considered out of the game. The ball का मतलब paper ये हो सकता है. Paper, it could be paper balls also. It could be soft ball also. And if the team squirrel completes building the 7 stones, they win the round. So you have to ensure that the squirrels are not able to collect all the nuts. So this is a simple example of how you can integrate. So let's take this example of mathematics and sports. In case of mathematics and sport, there are various examples which are there. So this is a example where we are going to teach the value of pi. So when we actually take children to the ground, and they can actually look at, we will learn how to make this lesson plan in second part. So I'm giving some examples here. When we take Masumi ma'am, kindly mute.
Maths and science.
Masumi ma'am, kindly mute. Okay. So here.
3:30 p.m.
Balvin sir, kindly mute. Balvin sir, kindly. Balvin Chate sir, kindly.
Yes, sir.
Kindly mute, sir.
Okay, sir.
Kindly keep it mute. No, I mean there's no need to unmute it right now. Yeah. So class 8th, there's a chapter which is around, so here we are going to do mensuration. We are also going to learn the value of pi. So when we take children to the ground, and there are different circles which are there, we can actually get children to measure the diameter, and we are going to tell them to measure the circumference. So once they do that, once they measure, so circumference by diameter, they can actually do measurement. Either, see, there are two skills that we are doing. We are actually teaching them how to draw a circle. They can actually draw a circle in case it is not there on the playground. And then they also, once they learn how to make the field as per actual dimension. And secondly, they also learn that if they take any circumference and take the diameter and they divide it, that actually is a value of pi. And this is something that they can actually learn on the ground. So they get physical activity, they do bending, they actually apply their mind, they know about the dimension of different sports field, whether it is a basketball ground or football ground or anything. So that is an example. So we will get into more actual working in next stage. This is an example, let's say, for science. Here we are looking at, when you are looking at, let's say, force and pressure. So there is nothing better than doing a tug of war or a wrestling on the ground, any sort of martial art. So when you are actually doing that, you actually teach them about this. You also have the concept of stable equilibrium and unstable equilibrium. It's like if you have an electric pole and you actually pull it from all sides, then it's unstable equilibrium. But if you actually hold it together, then it's the stable equilibrium. And here, so in this case, the force and the pressure, opposing forces, you can actually do it in both ways. So having a tug of war on the ground actually will make it more interesting. So let's see how, when you are making a lesson plan, how can you do it on this thing? What are the key aspects of a lesson plan? So here, when we are actually doing it today, so we will do some sample today and tomorrow. But when you are going to, so all of you who are here, you are going to be actually training other teachers when we are doing it on 22nd and 23rd and 27th and 28th. On how to create lesson plans. So this is a basic structure of a lesson plan. So basically it has a heading, let's say. So here, what is it that we are teaching? We looked at class 7th, chapter 12, which is electricity and circuit. And in this electricity and circuit, there was a subtopic around components of circuit. So here, the typical components would be a battery. It will be it's a battery. It has resistors. Then it has it basically has concept of switch. It has a concept of current. So the current will flow from positive to negative when it is outside, and when it is inside, it flows from negative to positive. So also this is what it basically is. It basically is also about electron moving from one end to the other end. So these are the basic things that you're doing. So when all of us, I mean, all the subject matter experts were here, when we are designing. So one idea that came was that can we actually do a 400-meter circuit race? So 400-meter circuit race. So you have different teams. Let's say 4 in each lane. So that makes it 32 players on the ground. And you get them to go from the starting line to the end line. They are running, and they would pass the baton from player 1 to player 2 to player 3 to player 4. So this is an example where we did. So here we learned about complete and incomplete circuit. We learned about the flow of current. So basically, when we are looking at it, so it is a starting gun is like a switch. So you click and the switch starts. The speed of each team will represent the magnitude of current. The children who are typically taller or heavier will probably have different speeds. They are like the conductors. Aluminum and copper are the conductors, which have different resistors also, which have different resistivity. So the explosive start at the starting line may be treated as a battery. So the flow of current is from positive to negative. That's through the conductor. At the starting line could be the negative to positive. And all the obstacles that we put on the ground, if we are putting obstacles on the ground, they are like different resistors. And the beta N would typically represent the electron that moves from positive to negative through the conductors. So this is a simple example where you are actually teaching them the different concepts. So there's always a lot of confusion between what is current, what is electron, what is a magnitude of current. So this is an example where you can actually teach children in terms of this concept of circuit theory. So in this case, there's even in sports there is a concept called circuit training. Circuit training is basically about putting obstacles on the path, and players actually cross those obstacles. They could be agility ladder, they could be simple hula hoops, they could be hurdles, they could be simple cones. You can have any sort of hurdles, a combination of different kinds of hurdles. So here, from a sports point of view, the child is learning sports and athletics, and from a subject point of view, the child is actually learning the subject. And here, what are the different components there? So there's learning outcome, and the learning outcome basically has two or three aspects. The first aspect is the core subject itself. So basically, I learn about complete and incomplete circuit. I learn about the flow of current. I learn about flow of current with battery, bulb, and wire. I learn about why metals like copper and aluminum are used. I also learn from a sports point of view on developing my cardiovascular endurance. So when I'm actually doing a 400-meter race, I'm huffing and coughing. So I'm actually sweating a lot. So I'm actually using a lot of oxygen. So I'm actually learning, developing my cardiovascular endurance. Then the other thing is about value. So I'm actually learning to develop teamwork and coordination skills. So all those things are happening with a simple 10 minutes activity on the ground. So first thing is a learning outcome. The second thing is description on how to do that activity. Third part is what are the different kinds of variation that I can do. Variation in terms of size, 400 meter, can be 200 meter, it can be any sort of. Then I'm talking about coaching. That's a training, coaching of the teaching tips. And the last thing is about the equipment which is there. Yeah, and the equipment. So here, if you look at any subject, so let's say any subject. So I will. So if I have mathematics, so mathematics will have chapters. Each chapter has different concepts, and the chapters and the concepts will have their own learning outcomes. And when I'm designing activities, I need to link them to concepts. So basically, I do it at a very atomic level. So if a chapter basically has three concepts or subtopics, my activities are not for the entire chapter, but my activities are for a specific concept, so that it's actually, and it's not necessarily, so a chapter may have three concepts, and two out of those three concepts can actually be taught through sports. So that's how when you actually start doing it. So you don't need to do for the entire chapter. So this is where it is. So we are going to learn about how to use the online platform. So we will have an online platform. So I'm going to give you the user ID password to all of you, so that between today and tomorrow and till the next thing, you can actually play around with it, create some lesson plans. So this is a platform, https nep.goforfit.in. This is where the platform is. I'll show you that also. Second, within this platform, you can actually see the chapters, the learning outcome, and you can see the concept of the subtopics. You can actually upload the activities there, so that can be actually subject coordinators. You can actually create. So we will create some activities now in the second half, and we'll see how it is to be done. And then the linking of the activities with subjects and chapters. So that is a very simple exercise, and we'll also link them with the sports. So the linkages, any activity that I do can be, activity could be for a particular subject, and the activity could be for sports, or it could be both ways. So the platform is flexible. This is an important slide. Kindly note down your passwords. This is the email address. So you can note down NEP. You can keep a screenshot also with you. So the URL is nep.goforfit.in. what you need to do, put the email address which was shared by Navodaya with us. So in that list which was shared with us, that is with your email address, we have created your user ID and password. So for all the DCs of Analyze and ACs, the password is Navodaya at 2021. For all the principals and the vice principals who are there, it is G for F, that's go for fit at 2021 hash. That's a password. You can try it out before 1:30 when we do the session. You can just log in once to see for yourself, so that there is no problem after this thing. So if everyone has taken a screenshot, or just remember yours. For DCs and ACs, it is Navodaya at 2021, and for principals and vice principals, it's G4F at 2021 hash. So that's a password. Just click on login and then you can do it. Okay, thank you. So I'll move to the next one. So the process to do it, to this platform, you will log in with a user ID and password. You can look for class-wise chapters. I'll show you how it looks like. Then in the next segment, we are going to use Microsoft PowerPoint or Word document to, we will discuss. So in small groups, we can actually discuss the ideas. We'll plan some activities, and we can make some images. So either we can download from Google, we can put it there, or we can actually create our own images. Like what I showed you, the solar system and other things we created. It took only 10 minutes to create. And then you go back to the platform and then you upload the activities. So I hope it is clear. Just log in, look for the chapter-wise chapters. We think about, so the structure that is said, and this is a structure. This is how a typical image, and we actually decide on what is the kind of activity we should do. Once we have done that, we can just simply upload it. So let's see how it looks like. Basically, this is how the chapters would look like. There are a lot of sports activities. If something is interesting, you can actually pick up to see and see whether we can actually use some of them. You can click on academics, and all these things are there, 6 to 8. So it's actually, it will be easy for you. So let's say I click on social science, class 6. Let's say I click on motions of the earth. So you can see that there are two concepts, rotation and revolution, and sense of collective belonging. So within rotation, this thing, we have created an activity, sample activity for with baseball with earth. So here we are actually teaching the revolution and using a game called baseball, simple rules of baseball. So where we have just put them as equinox, solstice, and equinox and the winter solstice. So this is how we have actually done it. So there are class-wise activities that can be done. So this is a very simple way. You can actually click and see the chapters and the concepts yourself. We have already put everything. We just need to create the activities. So here the next thing is we are seeing how to view the subjects and chapters and how do we create activities. So I'm just showing you a very basic thing. I'm logged in.
ये सब जो क्यूरेटर बनाए हैं उनकी चिट्ठी है, ये जो क्यूरेटर बनाए हैं
So here you can see that I can actually, if I want, so here we just saw that if I have to create an activity, how to do it. I think I've just by mistake got this thing. So I'll show you in terms of how activities are actually there to, we can add those activities. Yes, sorry, yes, this is the one. Let's say when people rebel, I want to add an activity. I can click on, so there's a button called add activity. So there are 4 learning concepts. I can simply click on add activity. So here it is giving the window through which I can actually add by putting the name. So so let's say the activity is Fight for Glory. I just created this activity beforehand, and I say it can be taught through what academically and this thing. So I take the learning outcome. And I have already developed this idea. Similarly, I just fill up everything. Once I filled up description, the variation, the coaching tips, and the equipment. Once I've done that thing, I will simply save it. And then I can add for which chapter this was. This was class 8th, political science, no, history, sorry, history. When people, well, then I say the company fights back. The guys are the people, sorry. I just wanted to do a double check and I save it. So this has got saved. When I go back, I can actually, so this has got linked with history chapter, whatever. So I can link it with history, I can link it with any subject. So this activity is saved. It's actually, so it was not there, this activity. Now you can see that the activity has got added. Yeah. Fight for Glory. This is the activity. Mutiny becomes popular. It has got added. All the linkages are shown. All the description, everything. It's actually very simple. So that way you can actually see all those things, and all the activities can then be seen in the last tab, which says activities. So there's a tab here called activities. You can actually see that. So what is the role of the regional coordinators and the subject coordinators? So here, what we are going to do in the next segment is we are going to generate some ideas. So the idea,
रिकॉर्ड के लिए डाल दिए हो ना, होता है वहां से, यहाँ से देखो फिर डिस्कनेक्ट हो गया।
Sample activities right now, so that we will co-create them. It will be your idea. I'm only going to jot down your activities, but otherwise it's going to be your ideas. Am I audible? Yeah. And the detailing of these ideas, we will do the detailing of these ideas, and we'll also create a structure. So that is what is going to be our objective. So just these are the Go for Fit platform. Just keep a note of that. NCERT chapters are also linked on this thing. So when we get into the platform, we will go through it. I will show you the platform so that when you are back at 1:30, you can actually see. So in the next session, we will do it at 1:30. But before that, let me just show you a few things. One second. So this is where the platform is. You can actually maybe log in once to see yourself. So I will just log in with my credentials. So you can log with yours, and you can see that all the chapters are there. It's very easy for you to actually look at it. So I just want you to, and when you click on any chapter, you can actually see all, you click on any subject, you can see all the chapters which are there. And you can actually click on any chapter. So as a reference point, you have a few activities we have added for your reference. Like in case of geography, we have added a few of them for every class, like the longitude and latitude. So we will go through it. We have some games also which have been done. So here, there are 2 links out here for every chapter. So one of them is basically going to show the chapter itself inside. So you can actually see the chapter yourself if you want to go through it. Similarly, the NCERT web link is also there. If you want to go through them, you don't need to search anywhere else. So this is where you can actually see the link. It's all there. And all of them are there in terms of the concepts. So you can actually look at any subject. Similarly, in case of sports, we can actually click on any sports to see. But what is important, all the activities that you create, they will all be visible. So these are some of the activities that I created. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. About 11 activities is what you have created in the last few days. So you can actually see these activities in the activity feed to get some sense in terms of what are the kind of activities which are possible. So this is all there. So like this is an example of longitude and latitude. The activities are all here. I hope it is clear. So I would say that before we join back at 1:30, just maybe play around a little bit. You can actually try it out yourself. You don't need to do anything. Just browse through it so that you get a sense of this thing. And then in the afternoon, we are going to do actual creation of these activities, and we will do it with you. So all our subject matter experts are there. So we have 3 physical education professionals who are there. Mr. Surya Prakash, Mr. Vinu, and Mr. Jagjit. Then we have the subject matter experts and they are from different subjects who are there, and very senior people. So all of us are going to help you out in terms of creating some content. So the first segment from 1:30 we are going to do for mathematics and science, and then from 3:30 we will do subjects and social science. So that is a plan. So you can actually join accordingly. Jawan sir, you want to add anything, sir?
Nothing except that the distribution of the work has also to be done. So for that also they should be prepared.
Yeah.
That small discussion can take place, that how the distribution is to be done. It is to be done class-wise or subject-wise. So we have the number of chapters, total number of chapters in every subject. So either they divide the chapters amongst themselves or divide the classes. So that strategy has to be finalized.
Yeah. And now we can actually have open discussion right now with everyone. So we have we can spend a little bit of time. Anyone who has any question, so we can actually you can actually unmute. We can discuss right now. So whatever we had to say, we have discussed. So from now onwards, we will basically be sitting with you and we'll create some sample. And as the subject coordinators, you would basically be driving. So like the sessions that we are doing right now, we want to empower you so that you can actually drive the sessions with the subject teachers on the 22nd and 23rd and 27th and 28th. You can actually have this thing. So from now onwards till tomorrow, we will spend enough time with you to on this aspect. So we will also do a strategy in terms of, are you going to allocate specific chapters to them? So if some of you are the subject coordinators, we have 8 subject coordinators. So as subject coordinators, are you going to allocate specific chapters to the participants, to the teachers? Or is it going to be reason, or is it going to be class-wise? So those things we'll discuss also today. Okay. So So now you can unmute yourself. All of you can unmute. Whosoever wants to discuss, we can actually take some questions and then.
See, Mrs. Handu here. So we have 8 regions, isn't it?
Yes. Who is this, ma'am? If you could introduce.
Mrs. Handu. Mrs. Handu here.
Yes, ma'am.
History. Do we have 8 regions?
Yes, ma'am.
We have 8 regions. So we can divide our social science. 3 regions will take history, 3 may take geography, and 2 may take civics. Then out of those 3 each and 2 1, we can divide chapters. Is it feasible? Can we do it like that?
We'll take the opinion of the subject coordinators and the assistant commissioner also.
Yes, teachers also. Teachers also.
Teachers will be added later on, but at the moment the strategy can be decided with the assistant commissioner, the regional coordinators, and the subject coordinators.
Yes. So,
and once that is finalized,
this is my suggestion. If we have to go accordingly, so in the meeting we can distribute it like that.
Yes.
If not, then we will take some other method.
That's a good idea. That three regions can take up history, 3 regions can take up geography, and 2 can take up
civics.
That is one. And another thing, since they have to make 2 lesson plans, so one we can leave it as a choice to the teachers that whatever they want whether they want it from history, geography, or civics, that is their choice.
So, suppose we have 100 teachers, we zoom into 30 only then. So it will be easier to communicate with them.
Of course, one lesson plan they can discuss with us, and the other lesson plan they can prepare on their own and make a submission.
Yes. So it can be according to their own choice. The subject
One
they like.
one lesson will be of their own choice, and one will be allocated to them.
This can be done.
Right.
Thank you.
To all participants, I mean, I think any question, anyone, so that we can. If there is a question, we can actually take up, or you can also. Someone had said host is not allowed to unmute, so I have actually unmute. So everyone can unmute.
Actually, sir, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This is VK Tyagi, Assistant Commissioner from Regional Office, Jaipur.
Yes, sir.
So actually, what password you have given to us the Navodaya Act 2021?
Yes, sir.
So I am not able to log in with my email ID.
Okay, sir. I will check, sir. I mean, let me just show you this thing. Let me 1 second, sir. Let me just show that to everyone, so that's actually clear to.
So Tyagi is there now on the frame.